If you're ever driving through a small mountain town in Northern California, and you suddenly feel the urge to pull over and stare at the mountain, don't. Keep driving. Turn off your radio. And whatever you do, don't look up. I know how insane that sounds. Hell, if someone had told me this a month ago, I would have laughed in their face. But now I understand why people disappear here. I understand why nobody who grows up in this town ever truly leaves. And I understand why every single night, I can hear the mountain breathing. I'm telling you this because I don't think I have much time left. Maybe I'm already too late. Maybe by the time you hear this, it's already found me. I grew up in a tiny mountain town tucked away in Northern California. I'm not going to tell you its name. Not because it's a secret, but because if you're curious enough, you'll probably find it. And I don't want that on my conscience. The town isn't remarkable on paper. About 3,000 people. Mostly wealthy retirees, burned-out hippies, and families who've lived here for generations. Tourists absolutely love it. They come for the waterfalls, the hiking trails, the clean mountain air, the little cafes downtown. The kind of place people call peaceful. Locals have a different word for it. Trap. See, everyone who grows up here dreams about leaving. You finish high school. You pack your bags. You swear you'll never come back. And somehow, almost everyone does. It's like the town reaches out and pulls you back. Nobody can explain why. They'll tell you it's because they miss home. Because life got hard. Because rent is cheaper. But after everything that's happened, I don't believe that anymore. I think something here refuses to let people go. And whatever it is, it lives inside that mountain. Don't get me wrong. We'd always had creepy stories. Every small town does. Missing hikers. Strange lights moving through the trees. Campers hearing voices deep in the forest. People claiming they saw someone standing on impossible cliffs where no human could survive. The older folks always brushed it off. Mountain legends. Tourist stories. You kids watch too many horror movies. So eventually, we stopped asking questions. Because after hearing the same stories your whole life, they stop sounding scary. They become background noise. Just another weird thing about your hometown. At least, that's what I thought. Until one Sunday afternoon, when the mountain looked back. That Sunday started like every other lazy weekend. The weather was perfect. Blue skies. Warm breeze. Not a cloud in sight. My friends, Naomi, Marcy, and I met up at the city park because none of us had anything better to do. We grabbed cheap sandwiches from the grocery store, found our usual spot near the old playground, and spent the afternoon talking trash about people we'd gone to high school with. You hear Jessica got pregnant? No way. I thought she was still in jail. We laughed so hard people started looking at us. Everything felt normal. Kids were chasing each other across the grass. Dogs barked as they sprinted after tennis balls. Parents sat under the trees while tourists filled the walking trails with cameras hanging around their necks. It was exactly the kind of afternoon that makes you forget the world can be a terrifying place. Then I noticed something. A family of 3. Mom, Dad, a little boy. They weren't hiking. They weren't taking pictures. They were just standing there, completely still, facing the mountain. The little boy's head was tilted so far back I wondered if his neck hurt. None of them moved, not even a little. I kept staring for a few seconds before Naomi followed my gaze. What? She asked. You see that family? She looked. Yeah. They've been standing like that for a while. Marcy glanced over from the monkey bars. They're probably tourists. Maybe. But something didn't feel right. Not even tourists stare at a mountain without blinking. A cold breeze rolled through the park. Marcy frowned. Shouldn't all that snow be gone by now? I looked up. The mountain's white peaks shimmered under the afternoon sun. It was the middle of April. There shouldn't have been that much snow left. Guess winter's hanging on, I muttered. Or global warming's just messed everything up. Nobody laughed. Naomi kept staring. That doesn't look right. What? The snow. She narrowed her eyes. It almost looks. She hesitated. Brighter. I looked again. Maybe it was a trick of the sunlight. Maybe. But for the first time in my life, the mountain didn't look like a mountain. It looked alive. I shook the thought out of my head. Guys, we're just overthinking it. Probably, Marcy said. But none of us looked away. Then Naomi suddenly pointed. Yo. You seeing this? The family hadn't moved. Not once. I glanced around the park. At least 20 minutes had passed. Kids had switched games. People packed up their picnics. A couple walked by holding ice cream. Even the shadows had shifted. But that family hadn't moved an inch. No talking. No pictures. Nothing. Just staring. My stomach tightened. Okay. That's actually kinda creepy. Marcy hopped off the playground and walked over beside us. Dude. They've seriously been standing there this whole time. Nobody answered. A tiny Jack Russell Terrier came running toward them with a tennis ball in its mouth. Its tail wagged wildly as it barked at the little boy. The dog dropped the ball at his feet. Nothing. It barked again. Still nothing. Then it started scratching at the boy's leg. No reaction. Not from the kid. Not from the parents. Nothing. The dog began whining. Its ears flattened. It backed away with its tail tucked between its legs. Then it bolted across the park. As if something had scared it. A chill crawled up my spine. My mouth suddenly felt dry. What the hell? Naomi whispered. Even from where we stood, I could see expensive cameras hanging around the parents' necks. Untouched. So pointless. They weren't here to admire the view. They were waiting for something. Or someone. Marcy suddenly crushed the half-smoked joint against the metal jungle gym. I'm leaving. What? I don't know. She looked terrified. I really don't want to be here anymore. For the first time all day. I agreed. We started walking toward the parking lot. Slowly. None of us spoke. Halfway across the grass. I couldn't stop myself. I looked back. The family was gone. Not walking away. Not packing up. Gone. Like they'd never been there. In their place. A dozen tourists were taking pictures of the mountain. Laughing. Smiling. Acting like nothing had happened. I stared at the empty patch of grass. And for one brief second, I could have sworn, the mountain smiled back. For almost a week, I convinced myself we'd imagined it. Maybe we'd all been a little too high. Maybe we'd let a weird coincidence get under our skin. Life went back to normal. Or at least, pretended to. I buried myself in work, wasted hours watching old movies, and did everything I could to avoid thinking about that afternoon. But every now and then, I'd catch myself staring at the mountain through my bedroom window. And every time I did, I got the same feeling. Like it was staring back. The following Friday around midnight, a car horn blasted outside my house. I peeked through the blinds. Naomi's beat-up Corolla sat crooked against the curb, headlights cutting through the darkness. She leaned out the window with a grin. Quit hiding. Let's go for a drive. I almost said no. Something deep inside me wanted to lock the door and stay in bed. Instead, I grabbed my hoodie and climbed into the passenger seat. Big mistake. You look like crap. Naomi laughed as she pulled away. Thanks. No problem. The inside of her car smelled like old beer, cigarettes, and cheap air freshener. Empty cans rolled around on the floor every time she took a corner. You trying to kill us? I asked, grabbing the handle above the window. She smirked. Relax. I haven't crashed, yet. I rolled my eyes. Very comforting. She turned the stereo up. Some awful local pop station crackled through the speakers. No Bluetooth. Nope. Figures. For a few minutes, it actually felt normal again. Just two friends driving around like we used to after high school. Talking about nothing. Laughing. Trying to pretend we weren't getting older. Then, I realized where we were going. The streetlights disappeared behind us. The road narrowed. Tall pines swallowed the car. The mountain rose ahead like a black wall against the sky. I looked over. Naomi? She kept her eyes on the road. What? Why are we heading up here? She shrugged. I dunno. I just felt like it. Something about the way she said it made my stomach drop. Not because she sounded nervous, because she sounded empty. Like the words weren't really hers. I looked back at the mountain. For one split second, I remembered that family. Standing perfectly still. Staring upward. Waiting. I suddenly wished I'd stayed home. Neither of us spoke for the next 10 minutes. Only the hum of the engine. The static from the radio. The wind rattling through the trees. Then, without warning, Naomi slammed on the brakes. The car rolled to a stop. I blinked. We're here. Base camp. The trailhead where hikers started the climb every summer. Except, something was horribly wrong. I looked at the dashboard clock. 1:13 a.m. That made no sense. Outside, it wasn't dark anymore. The entire mountain was glowing. Not like moonlight. Not like sunrise. It looked alive. The snow shimmered with an impossible white light. The clouds behind the peak pulsed like they were breathing. The whole mountain seemed to expand, then slowly contract. Expand, contract, like an enormous chest drawing breath. No, Naomi whispered. What the hell is that? I couldn't answer. Because I saw it too. The mountain was breathing. The radio exploded with static. Both of us jumped. The speakers screamed so loudly my ears rang. Then, the static stopped. A voice replaced it. Oh, ancient. Impossible. It wasn't male. It wasn't female. It sounded like thousands of whispers speaking at once. Like rocks grinding together beneath the earth. Like something that had never been meant for human ears. It spoke one sentence. Slowly. Clearly. Perfect English. Don't stop looking. Every hair on my body stood up. Naomi grabbed my arm so hard her nails dug into my skin. Did you hear that? I couldn't speak. I couldn't blink. I couldn't breathe. The voice wasn't just coming from the radio anymore. It was coming from everywhere. From the trees. From the wind. From inside my own skull. Then, the mountain moved again. This time, I knew I wasn't imagining it. It inhaled. The entire forest fell silent. No insects. No birds. No wind. Nothing. Then, it exhaled. The sound rolled across the valley like the breath of something impossibly large. Something older than the mountains themselves. Something. Wait. And then the voice came back. Soft enough to sound almost gentle. Close enough to feel like lips brushing against my ear. Look at us. Naomi screamed. The spell broke. She threw the car into reverse so hard the tires shrieked across the pavement. We flew down the mountain road without saying another word. Neither of us looked in the rearview mirror. Because deep down, we both knew. Something was following us. Neither of us spoke on the drive back. Not once. The radio stayed off. The windows stayed shut. Even breathing felt too loud. When Naomi parked outside my house, we just sat there, gripping the steering wheel and the dashboard like we'd survived a car crash. Finally, she whispered, "We both saw that, right?" I nodded. I couldn't trust my own voice. She slept on my couch that night. Neither of us got a minute of sleep. Every little sound outside made us jump. Branches scraping the roof. The old refrigerator humming. The wind pushing against the windows. It all sounded wrong. Like something was trying to imitate normal. The next morning, the mountain looked exactly the way it always had. Bright, peaceful, beautiful. If I hadn't been there the night before, I would have thought I'd imagined everything. Naomi left around noon. Before she got in her car, she looked at me. If either of us starts thinking we're crazy, call me. I promised I would. I wish I'd kept that promise. The days that followed felt unreal. I stopped opening my curtains. I unplugged my TV, my computer, even my radio. I couldn't explain why. I just couldn't stand the thought of hearing that voice again. At night, I'd wake up convinced someone was standing outside my bedroom window. Watching. Waiting. Every single time. There was nothing there. Until Sunday. I woke up freezing. My feet hurt. Really hurt. Like I'd spent hours walking barefoot over sharp rocks. I opened my eyes. I wasn't in my bedroom anymore. I was standing at the base of the mountain. Still wearing my pajamas. Barefoot. My heart nearly stopped. No. 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 I spun in circles. Nothing but trees. When? Darkness. Then I noticed footprints behind me. Bare footprints. Hundreds of them. All leading toward the mountain. None. Leading back. That's when I saw him. A man. Standing 50 yards ahead. His back was turned. He walked slowly toward the mountain. His movements weren't natural. Every step looked forced. Like he wasn't choosing where to go. I shouted. Hey. Nothing. I ran after him. Hey. He never even looked back. Then, another figure appeared. Then another. Then 5 more. Men. Women. Children. Old people. All walking in complete silence. All toward the same place. Like sleepwalkers. Like they'd heard the same call. The mountain was glowing again. Only now, I could see it clearly. It wasn't breathing because of the wind. It was breathing because something underneath it was alive. The ground trembled beneath my feet. A deep rumble rolled through the valley. Then I noticed something strange. The snow. It wasn't melting. Was moving. At first my brain refused to understand what I was looking at. Then it finally clicked. The white patches weren't snow. They were people. Thousands. Tens of thousands. Covering the mountain. Standing shoulder to shoulder. Perfectly still. From a distance. They looked like snow. Up close. They were human beings. Every single one of them. Staring upward. None of them blinking. None of them speaking. Just waiting. My stomach dropped. Some of them were wearing hiking gear. Others wore business suits. A little girl still clutched a stuffed rabbit. One man still had a camera hanging around his neck. Then I recognized one of them. The father. The tourist family from the park. He hadn't disappeared. He'd never left. His wife stood beside him. Their little boy, still staring at the summit. Exactly the way I'd first seen them. I screamed his name. Nothing. Not even a blink. Then, every head turned toward me. At the exact same time. Thousands of faces. Thousands of empty eyes. All looking directly at me. The mountain inhaled. The crowd inhaled with it. Then every mouth opened. Together. One voice. One impossible voice. We've been waiting. The ground shook so violently I fell backward. The mountain exhaled. The sound hit me like a freight train. Everything went black. I woke up in my own bed. Police officers were standing in my room. Apparently, a hiker found me unconscious near the trailhead just before sunrise. They asked why I was barefoot. Why my feet were bleeding. How I'd gotten there. I lied. Because I knew the truth sounded insane. Weeks have passed since then. Naomi barely talks to me anymore. The strange part? She says she doesn't remember hearing the voice. She says the mountain never glowed. Sometimes she even laughs when I bring it up. Like it never happened. It's as if the mountain is taking the memory away from her. But not from me. Every night, I hear it breathe. Slow. Deep. Patient. Every morning, I notice more tourists stopping along the highway to stare at the mountain. Some stand there for hours. Completely still. They never seem to notice the time passing. If you're ever driving through Northern California, and you see a beautiful little mountain town that feels too quiet, don't stop. Don't hike. Don't look at the summit. And if your radio suddenly fills with static, turn it off immediately. Because if you hear a voice whisper, "Look at us," it's already too late. The mountain has finally noticed you.